The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the webinar, Revolutionizing Travel Payments, Exploring the Power of ARC Pay. Hi, I'm Judy Howard, the Manager of Customer Experience and Training here at ARC, and I'll be your host. Before we get started with the presentation, I'd just like to introduce our ARC guest presenters. Joseph Kavanaugh, Director of Product Payments. We also have Alex Kyle, Product Manager, Product Owner Payments. And along with those two, we have Sherry Simmons, Supervisor of ARC Pay. So without further ado, Joseph, I'm going to turn it over to you to kick this off.
Great, thanks, Judy. Good morning, everyone. Just wanted to talk about a little bit about ARC Pay and what the platform is all about. So what is ARC Pay? Here's a few highlights around what the platform is and some of the features and functionality. We'll get into a little more in-depth into each of these components. As you can see, we have a GDS product, an ARC Pay Hub, which is our standalone payment processing application, as well as our API. A few highlights related to these. Obviously, it does all major card types. It is native to the GDS. We recently increased our maximum transaction amount to $75,000, which has historically been $10,000. Obviously, pricing related to the product is flat rate. And of course, all of this runs on the ARC settlement system, which allows transactions to then be consolidated into your weekly reports. So let's kind of touch into each of these products individually, and we'll start with the ARC Pay API. So the ARC Pay API was recently introduced back in May, and some of the highlights of this product are, it does allow you to process transactions outside of your GDS. So if you have any sort of website or booking tools, or you're creating any new payment flows related to NDC, this would allow you to do those transactions outside of that world. It is optimized for cruise and airline. So if you want to pass different information like the passenger name and the O&D, all that information can be passed on the transaction as well. There's multiple flavors of a hosted checkout, which helps with your PCI avoidance. And it allows you to send payment links, which we'll touch on a little bit more in a minute. You're obviously having all of your native wallet payments, so Apple Pay and Google Pay are supported. And of course, there's fraud prevention related tools like AVS and CVV, and as well as 3D Secure, which helps with chargeback liability shift for those of you who are doing consumer-based transactions. A few items that we have coming on the roadmap, are Click to Pay, which is a MasterCard's wallet, formerly called MasterPass. We are working with UATP to accept their credit cards as well through the API. Of course, this is available in the GDS world. Other alternative forms of payment that we're working on is real-time payments and, of course, ACH. And then additional chargeback and fraud-related items like chargeback guarantee. And last but not least is dynamic currency conversion. So this would allow your customers to accept in their home currency, but deposits would still be made in US dollars. So we're going to go ahead and touch on a little bit more in depth around the API products. So here's a couple different flavors of what the API will allow you to do. The direct API is sort of for those customers who want to have complete control over the user experience. So there's no hosted checkout environment here. You create your own payment page. All the transactions are captured directly within your network. But of course, this would require additional PCI compliance. Hosted checkout and session checkout are somewhat similar. Session checkout would allow you to capture only the sensitive card data. So you still have a little bit more flexibility and control over the user experience. And the hosted checkout is a full redirect. So this would actually take your customer from your website to the hosted checkout page, which would then allow the customer to pay completely away from your network, which helps with PCI avoidance. Payment links, which again, we're going to touch on here in a second. It allows you to create a link that you could embed into an email, a text message, and then of course that redirects them to the hosted checkout. And then of course, mobile SDKs, which if you are creating a mobile app native to Android or iOS, these mobile SDK libraries would be leveraged in order for you to create payment acceptance, ARC Pay payment acceptance directly within those applications. So as touching on a little bit more around payment links. So this is sort of a demo that we created in order to kind of show you what the payment link looks like. So we created a fake invoice here on the left, and then we would allow your customers would be able to send an invoice. They would receive the invoice, and then what the API would allow you to do is create that payment link that's embedded into the Pay Invoice button. Once that link is clicked, it obviously then routes the customer to the hosted checkout with some dollar amount that you're looking for them to pay. They can enter all their card information securely, and then of course this transaction is then processed, and the customer is allowed to pay. This could use Apple Pay, this could use their credit card. Of course, Click to Pay and other payment types are going to be available in the future on this payment screen. And then, of course, here's a couple options about what the hosted checkout looks like. The one on the left is the complete redirect, and that's what it would look like if your customer was redirected to another site. And then, of course, the session checkout is if they're only capturing sensitive card data. So you'd have control over what this screen says, and then it would click them over to this session checkout screen where Apple Pay, of course, would be available if you have that functionality turned on. And this is what it would look like for your customer to pay. Very similar to what a normal Apple Pay checkout experience looks like in other sites. So next up, I want to touch on a little bit about ArcPay Hub. So the ArcPay Hub is, again, our standalone virtual terminal product that's targeted at smaller agents or agents that have sub-agents that need to provide access to a payment product without giving them access potentially to their GDS. You can access this through our MyArc website, directly on the ARC corporate site. And of course, this does take advantage of the new $75,000 transaction limit. There are some features around user access and management. We can limit the amount of transactions that can come through here and the dollar amount. But the product as it stands today is a somewhat simple payment solution, and we have a number of items that we want to add to the enhancement list on the future roadmap. Again, we're going to modernize the UI, make this mobile optimized so you could use it on your phone or an iPad. We want to add more functionality around the user management, allowing the agency themselves to control some of the functionality around users and adding and deleting users. We are going to include the ArcPay API functionality in here, or take advantage of that, I should say, which will allow for greater flexibility around airline data and cruise data. Also, it will allow us to use the e-invoicing functionality or the payment link functionality that I mentioned. And of course, 3D Secure, the checkout solution will all be available to that as well. And we are looking at enhancing our Uplift partnership and creating more of an embedded user experience directly inside ArcPay Hub. And last but not least is the core of the ArcPay platform is the GDS. This has been in existence since the mid-90s. It allows the customers obviously to process directly through their GDS using ArcPay. We are set up in the GDS as an airline under 890. If you have ARC accreditation, you typically will have access to ArcPay via your GDS. This is a seamless solution directly in there. It obviously all the transactions that you process through your GDS are loaded directly into your back office. These transactions again settle directly to ARC, and all of these will be rolled up into your weekly settlement. Access to UATP and Discover is available through here. The new $75,000 transaction limit also is available and through here. And again, the one major benefit is if you owe the airline cash and you're using ArcPay, we net that directly in our systems and pay you the difference. So if we owe you $100, but you owe the airline $100, ARC can pay the airline directly on your behalf. And again, that's available in Sabre, Travelport, Amadeus, and for any of you who are using Acelia for any of your NDC content, ArcPay is now available through Acelia as well. We are working on 2 direct integrations with Sabre and Travelport via the ArcPay API for a future release. So those are the 3 main components of the ArcPay platform. A couple other things that we wanted to touch on are some of the partnerships that we have available through ArcPay. As mentioned, we do have a partnership with Uplift, allowing our agents access to their buy now, pay later solution. This is available through ArcPay Hub as a standalone registration. Again, we are looking to create a native integration that would allow agents to process Uplift transactions directly in ArcPay Hub, as opposed to having to shell out to the Uplift agent tool. We also have a proof of concept that we're working on with Grasp related to virtual cards. So the concept here would allow you to leverage Grasp Pay and ArcPay in a single user interface that would allow you to bill the consumer using ArcPay, but then pay your suppliers using a single-use virtual card through the Grasp Pay solution. We are looking for some pilot customers, so if you have any questions on this, definitely reach out, and we're looking forward to working with you on that. So next up, we're going to talk about some of the customer benefits of the ArcPay platform using, along the different verticals, and I'm going to kick it over to Alex to kind of fill you in on more.
Hi there. Thanks a lot, Joseph. I'm going to talk about some of the benefits across the multiple agency verticals that use ArcPay, but for sure, there will be a lot of overlap here. TMCs will find some of the same benefits that VTCs and other agencies do. So if I'm not speaking directly to your agency type, I mean, you don't think that you're being excluded here, because you will find benefits with agencies who look similar to you and agencies who don't look similar to you. But primarily, our travel management companies find benefit in ArcPay in that it's one-stop shopping. They can have all of their locations on one platform. There's access to all the major credit card brands, including the UATP card, which is particularly popular with the TMC agencies. All transactions are issued along with airline tickets at the same time as the service fees. So this is easier reconciliation for corporate customers. They should see their airline ticket and their ArcPay transaction listed right next to each other on their credit card statement. And all transactions that flow through the ARC system are part of the ARC report and subsequently feed into their back office accounting system. And that we've heard from our TMC customers is just a huge benefit. We also have enterprise pricing discounts available depending on it's dependent upon dollar volume that you're able to process through ArcPay. Generally, the minimum threshold there is $5 million in ArcPay transaction volume annually. So if you see yourself in that vertical with those sorts of dollar volumes, please contact us. We'll see what we can do. VTCs and independent agencies. We've been wildly popular with that vertical. Smaller agencies for years have had trouble obtaining credit card merchant agreements. But where other credit card brands see risk, ARC sees opportunity. In many cases, ARC's had multi-year relationships with these agencies. So actually, in some cases, multi-decade relationships. So these aren't agencies we see as high risk. We see these as just loyal, long-time customers. We see an opportunity here to help them be successful. We have reasonable processing fees. With ArcPay, we charge 3.5% or 70 cents. But generally, that's that plus a monthly subscription fee of $17.50 is the only fee we charge regarding this. We have fixed rates on that, so agencies always know what they're going to get paid on a particular transaction. With Visa and MasterCard, dependent upon the customer's card, the expense on these transactions can vary, but with ArcPay, you always know exactly how much you're going to be getting on your transactions. Also, because we've had, like I said, multi-year or multi-decade relationships, we don't do holdbacks. We pay our customers on time every week as part of the ARC weekly settlement, and we don't hold back any of those fees. All that money is dispersed in a timely fashion. With our OTAs and tour operators, that's maybe online travel agencies, With these sorts of agencies, they generally have a much have a requirement to process much larger dollar transactions, which ArcPay is able to handle. And again, whereas other credit card processors might see these sorts of agencies as high risk, we again just see them as long-term loyal customers, and we're glad to have the opportunity to assist them. Other processors almost certainly would charge much higher rates than ARC does, or require large cash deposits or holdbacks. In some cases, require them to post bonds or letter of credits to guard against risk, or slower to pay. Disbursements would not come in a weekly, timely fashion the way that ArcPay does. And again, with these sorts of agencies, we've had multi-year relationships, and like I said, we don't view these as high-risk customers. With aggregators and our partner solutions, these are generally agencies that or entities that don't have a GDS or don't necessarily want to use the GDS or ArcPay Hub to process their transactions, which is why we created the API, which Joey spoke to earlier. We've had entities contacting ARC for years, basically requesting access to ArcPay by way of an API. So we were able to put that together and launch that several months ago. Would allow agents and entities to process or submit transactions directly into IAR by way of the API. We have a developer portal for users to explore their programming options. All this is on the ArcPay website. And like I said, agencies have been contacting us for years, looking for an opportunity to partner with us by this method. And with that, I'm going to kick it over to Sherry Simmons. She is our ArcPay operations manager. Among other things, she assists agencies when they unfortunately have a chargeback. Chargebacks are a rare occurrence, but if you get one, you're going to want her in your corner. She's got over 20 years of experience assisting ArcPay users. Sherry?
Hello, everyone. My name is Sherry Simmons, and I am the ArcPay supervisor. And just give you a little bit of what we do. We do assist with chargeback resolutions and with recovery. We also provide customer service not only to our travel agencies to resolve their disputes, but also to cardholders who call in to question their charge. And what we do there is we send them, look the information up for them and send them back to the travel agency for resolution so that in order to prevent a chargeback. We also assist the ArcPay risk management team with potential fraud. Anything we see that's out of the ordinary, we have a conversation with them to make sure that there's no fraud being committed, not only against ARC, but also by a travel agency. We also, if we suspect fraud, we will reach out to the agency to make them aware. Sometimes they're not aware that this is taking place, so it helps to alert them that they could potentially have a fraud chargebacks coming through. Let's talk about best practices. These things are high on my list. Number one is just being transparent with the charge, about the charge to your customer. Let them know that they're going to see potentially a second charge that is going to be coming from ARC, and it's going to say ARC Visa. For the most part, it could say travel agency services, but it will be a separate charge that they're going to see. You also want to make sure that you're going to obtain a separate approval code. It can prevent chargebacks. Just remember that ArcPay has their own merchant account, as well as the airline would have their own merchant account. Try not to use the same approval code for the airline ticket as well as the service fee. You would need to get a separate approval code. If your customer is asking for a refund, always refund back to the original form of payment. You don't want to issue a check, an agency check to that customer, because a chargeback could still happen, and that customer could then say that check was to pay for something different other than what you intended it to pay for. If you receive a chargeback notice from ARC, please do not issue a refund for that transaction. Issuing a refund for a chargeback would simply give the customer a second credit, and then we would have to go back to that card brand to retrieve one of those credits back so we can give that money back to you. So you don't want to issue a refund because you're just giving the customer a credit twice. If you receive a notice from us, chargeback or inquiry, just reach out to your customer to say, hey, this was my fee, or this is my transactions. Sometimes they forget that you're going to charge them a fee, or maybe just decided that they were not going to pay it. But you would want to reach out to them just to say, hey, this is my fee, and I received a chargeback on it, and see if you can clear it up from there. If you have not already signed up for chargeback notices for ArcPay, make sure you do. We would love to have you to sign up for email notices, because otherwise it's going to go out in the U.S. mail, and these things are time sensitive, and we would want you to get it as soon as the chargeback notice happens. Also, we can customize. We have a limited space on the customer statement where you can add your agency name, change the descriptor to add your agency name, if that's something that you're interested in. Just send us an email and let us know, and we can work with you from there. Also, when you're submitting your documentation for any chargeback, please submit all documentation based on the reason code that would be included on the notice. And if you know that there's a story behind that chargeback, or you've had an issue before this became a chargeback, make sure you put in your own words what happened with this transaction, because we don't know the story, only you know the story, and it will help along with the documentation to get that chargeback reversed. Alex?
Okay. I'm going to just go over some of the highlights of today's presentation and the product. Operational efficiencies. ArcPay works through the GDS, ArcPay Hub, and the API. We've got one-stop shopping, all cards, access to all cards. There's no additional setup that's required. ARC accreditation includes access to ArcPay. You will need to go through a brief vetting process with our risk team, but it is part of the accreditation process. GDS and back office consolidation, easy reconciliation. Again, I hear that time and time again. ArcPay has been wildly successful among our customers because of just for a variety of reasons, but I often hear about ease of use and consolidation with GDS and back office systems. ArcPay transactions settle directly with your weekly ARC report. You always know when your ARC report's when those funds are gonna be either debited to your account, debited from your account, or deposited to your account. ArcPay transactions net against any cash you may owe, but it's all part of your weekly ARC settlement. We have the standalone option, ArcPay Hub for non-GDS users. ArcPay Hub has been, also successful among agencies of all stripes. I'm always surprised at who I see using it, but primarily it's for agencies who don't have a GDS or don't want to use their GDS, but it's a convenient mechanism for running a transaction and getting your customer charged. Under financial benefits, as I said earlier, we've got flat rate pricing, 3.5% or 70 cents, whichever's greater, on every transaction. Again, that's 3.5% or 70 cents, not 3.5 plus. We do have a monthly subscription fee of $17.50, but this is very important. This is only applicable if you are actively using the product. It's not like a Netflix subscription where you get charged every month regardless of whether or not you were watching anything. If you're actively using ArcPay, the fee applies, but if you go a month without using it, then the monthly subscription fee would not be debited from your account. Limited financial guarantees and bank reserves, generally we don't require those at all, but depending on your profile, the way you're using ArcPay, and your volume of chargebacks, that will determine the amount of financial guarantee. But 99.9% of ArcPay users have no personal guarantees or financial reserves with us. We have our chargeback monitoring program. We keep an eye on chargebacks. If we see chargebacks on a particular card at one agency, we're able to notify other agencies regarding chargebacks and fraud and risk. We have low chargeback fees. If you do have a chargeback, our team will work with you on that, but we do have to compensate ourselves to cover the expenses associated with processing chargebacks. But on the plus side, as I said earlier, chargebacks are overwhelmingly an extremely rare occurrence for ArcPay users. ArcPay is integrated into your existing Arc workflow. You're already generally, for the most part, working in your GDS, issuing airline tickets or booking hotel reservations, etc. ArcPay is in there as well. You don't need to launch a separate application or go to a separate form or website to run these transactions. You're already there. You're already working through this, so it's part of your existing workflow. Under value added, we are currently outputting your agent, your doing business as name as it is listed with ARC. We're outputting that. However, if you would like something other than that placed on your customer statement, we're able to accommodate that within reason. We have a fixed field length that we work with the credit card. So we will put as much as we're able to on the customer statement. But if you'd like to contact us regarding making a change there, please do so. We do have this single agreement that covers all cards, all major cards: Visa, MasterCard, American Express, Discover, JCB, and the UATP card. ARC is the merchant of record on all these transactions and not your agency. So many agencies find that to be a benefit. They want ARC to be the merchant rather than have that risk on their own agency. We have hosted PCI solutions and tokenization. There's multiple channels processing with ARC. You can use ArcPay through any one of these channels. And regarding that, you can use ArcPay multiple ways, but that monthly subscription fee is applicable only once per month. If you're using the tool various ways, you don't get charged that monthly fee multiple times. And you also have access to us. I mean, ArcPay and ARC employees here, we work exclusively with travel agencies. We know what you're charging. We know what your generally what your goals are here, and you have benefits of our many years of payments experience and travel industry experience. We've been your longtime partner, and we look forward to working with you there. If you have any questions, here's how you can contact us. You can contact me, Alex, or Joseph by way of the arcpay@arccorp.com email address. If you have just questions about going about issuing transactions, you can contact our customer care center at cchelp@arccorp.com. And Sherry and her team, if you have chargebacks or other questions regarding things of that nature, you can reach her at arcpaydisputes@arccorp.com. And Judy, I think we're kicking it back to you now.
Great. Thanks, Alex, for a great presentation and a lot of valuable information. I want to give a really big thank you to our guest presenters today, Joseph, Alex, and Sherry. A lot of great information. And as Alex had the slide up with all of our the different ways you can contact the ArcPay team, I encourage you to do so if you have questions or want to connect with them in getting this product. Please reach out to them. They're the ones that can help you with this, and they have a lot of experience and a wealth of information to be able to answer all your questions. I also want to thank all of you for joining us today. We know your time is valuable, and we really appreciate your time. We also look forward to having you join us on future webinars, so please look out for the schedule. And we have some exciting ones coming up in October and November, so please reach out. And if you have any questions on just generalities or webinars in general, you can contact me, jhoward@arccorp.com. Again, thanks for our guest presenters, and thanks to all of you, our audience. We really appreciate your time. Thank you.